Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In honor of the new year, I'm going to be putting out a series of videos just like this one that are going to go over how to set up your diet, training, maybe both. That way you guys can go into the new year strong, build good habits, reach your goals, and just build a lifestyle. So with that being said, this first video is going to be about macros and how to set yourself up and just a quick understanding of what they are. That way you guys have some basic knowledge of what it is. Now, just a quick warning, I'm not going to go into major detail with these videos just because I'm trying to keep it as quick and simple as possible and not really fluff all the most important information out, because a lot of times if people say too much, you kind of just get lost. So with that being said, I'm gonna see you guys on the computer and then we'll talk there. All right, so understanding macros. Calories are a unit of energy from food that your body needs to function. Macronutrients are proteins, carbs, and fats. Proteins are the building blocks for muscle and maintenance of muscle. Carbs are the main source of energy, and fats are for hormone health. These two are related because no matter what, macronutrients will always equal to the total amount of calories. Calories is the total number of energy that you're intaking per day, while macronutrients are the specific units of energy, specific nutrients that are going to equal to that total amount of energy. So why does tracking macros matter more than calories? I just think it's better because you get to be more specific. So with the 2 points, you get to be more specific to an individual's needs and goals, and then it helps you build an understanding of what you're putting into your body. When you track macros, you're tracking protein, carbs, and fats, and that will equal to your total calories per day. Now, I think it's better because you get to focus on what the sources are instead of just focusing on like, oh, I can eat that cookie, it's 400 calories, I'm just gonna add that, and then I have about 2,000 calories left. Where with macros, you're focused on the amount of grams of protein you're eating, you're focused on the amount of carbs you're eating, and the amount of fats you're eating. And you have to be more strategic and specific with what you put in your meals. That way you don't go over those set protein goals, the set carb goals, and the set fat goals. Some examples of macronutrients. A lot of people don't know what a macronutrient is or like what specifically it is. Macronutrients are proteins, carbs, and fats. Some protein sources that you can choose are beef, chicken, turkey, fish, protein powder, and egg whites. For carbs, you can choose rices, potatoes, breads, pastas, oats, and fruit. And for fats, you can choose avocados, olive oil, almond butter, and nuts. This is just a quick list. There's a lot more that I don't have listed here, but that's just kind of a quick reference that you can use. How would you read a nutrition label, and how would you track these, or how would you even understand what specific macronutrients are within each source? So for almost every type of food, there's going to be a nutrition label, especially if it's packaged. With things that you have like at a farmer's market, it's a little bit harder because they don't really come in packages, they come in bins. But when you buy a package, there's always a nutrition label. And on this nutrition label, at the top, you'll see the amount of servings per package, the serving size, the amount of calories. The macronutrients will be listed in the middle, and the micronutrients will be listed at the bottom. We're going to pay attention to the top portions first. We see that in this nutrition label, there's 8 servings per container. And one serving is 55 grams or 2/3 of a cup. Anytime you guys are weighing these things out on a scale, pay attention to the grams. Don't ever use cups, teaspoons, or whatever that is, because it's not always accurate. And if you're in a pinch, it's better than nothing. But if you can, always weigh it out in grams. And then in the middle section, that's the most important part. Let's say this is just a random food that we're trying to see if it fits in our macros. We would look for the total amount of fat, which is 8 grams, the total amount of carbs, which is 37 grams, and the total amount of protein, which is 3 grams. So those are our macronutrients for that specific food item. And then you would either input it into your little notebook, the app that you're using, or, if you can remember that by memory in a pinch, do that. But, try to track it. So how would you determine what your baseline macronutrients should be? Well, first you got to figure out what your goal is. Is it maintenance? Is it recomp? Is it fat loss? Or is it muscle gain? Right now, we're just going to focus on maintenance. That way we can keep it as simple as possible. And then we'll kind of go into the other parts later on in the video. So for maintenance, at a minimum, you want to start at a 1-to-1 ratio for protein. So if I'm 200 pounds, I would take my body weight, multiply it by 1, I would get 200 grams of protein. If you feel like you need more, you can go anywhere from 1 to 1.5 times your body weight. And if you think you need higher than that for whatever reason, you can go from 1.5 to 2 times your body weight. That's a bit high. So, only do that if you're advised to, or if you feel like you need it. For carbs, same thing. Always start lower, then kind of build up from there. So at least a 1-to-1 ratio. And then if you feel like you're either starving, you're not doing well, or you're overeating, adjust it based on that. So you can either go from 1 to 1.5 and multiply your body weight times that, or you can go to 2 to 3, and that's a bit on the higher end. For fats, it's on the opposite end. You kind of want to be more sparing with this, just because you don't want to overdo the fats. It can either lead to you feeling kind of groggy all day, slowing your digestion down. So I would start at 0.25, and then if that's too low, you don't feel it, you're not doing very well on that, go up to 0.3 to 0.35, and then that should be the sweet spot, somewhere in between there. So how do you set up for fat loss? Well, first you got to figure out what your estimated intake is. So based off that last slide, figure out what your maintenance is, and then kind of go back from there. And then you got to understand that to lose a pound of body fat, you have to at least burn 3,500 calories total, whether it be in a few days, a week, a month. You choose that timeline based on what you can handle. And that goes with this next point. Determine how aggressive you would like to be with the deficit. I recommend starting slow, seeing how your body adjusts to the first initial changes with the plan, and then you can always adjust it from there. And then you also have to be realistic. If you're someone who can't really handle a diet and being restricted, especially if you're someone who's used to eating whatever you want, it's better to start slow in a fat loss phase and then let your body adjust and then increase things from there, versus doing a crash diet thinking you want to go from one extreme to another. Most people can't do that because just mentally it's exhausting for some people. So how do you set up for muscle gain? Well, going back to what I said, 1 pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. You want to be a little bit more sparing with this bulk phase, because if you overeat, you're going to gain a lot more fat than you are with muscle. Okay, so take this nice and slow. I would start out at a half pound per week as well. That way, you're making sure you're gaining weight at a steady rate, but you're not overdoing the calories and possibly gaining a shitload of fat. So just take it slow, and then if you really need it, you can bump it up to a pound per week if you really want to be more aggressive, and then 2 pounds per week, extreme cases. So this is just a brief little breakdown that I made for my calories. So right now my maintenance is 240 grams of protein. I multiplied my body weight times 1.2, which is equal to 960 calories. I got my carbs at 340 grams, and I multiplied my body weight times 1.7. That has me at 1360 calories. And then for fats, I multiplied my body weight times 0.39, which is 702 calories. My fat loss phase, I just went directly and cut 500 calories, so that out of those 7 days of the week, I'm at a 3,500 calorie deficit. So that's how I would do it. Cutting 500 calories, we go from 240 grams of protein, we'll leave that the same, but we do decrease carbs, and we go down to 265 grams of carbs, and that brings us down to 1,160 calories. And then fats, we go down to 55 grams of fat, and that takes us down to 502 calories. So our total calories for our fat loss phase, at least with the initial adjustment, is 2,522 calories. Now for muscle gain, we're going to go back to our maintenance, and we're just going to increase it by 250 calories. So protein, keep that the same no matter what. Carbs, we're adding back in, and we're increasing them to 402.5, which is going to put us at 1,610 calories. And fats are going back to what we had them at maintenance, and that's going to put us back at 78 grams, equaling to 702 calories. So our total calories for our first adjustment in our muscle gaining phase is 3,272. So if we look at the totals for each of them, maintenance, 3,022 calories at a 500 calorie deficit is 2,522 for fat loss. And for muscle gain, it's 3,272 for a 250 calorie surplus. So when should you adjust the plan? Like I said before, this all depends on you. For fat loss, I think every 2 weeks is a good point, because for most people, if they go too aggressive, they're not going to last very long. So I think every 2 weeks for the average person is just fine, and then go from there. If you feel like you can handle a more rapid approach, then do it every week. And then for muscle gain, I think even longer. I think 2 weeks is a good starting point. Make adjustments every 2 weeks. And then if you notice, you're gaining at the same calories and you're not changing anything, and then the scale's going up nice week by week, and you're not getting overly fat, then keep it until you stall. It's muscle gain. It's not going to happen overnight. So let the food do its thing, let the training do its thing, and take it slow and steady. And then for maintenance, the only time you really need to make any changes is when you start to lose weight or gain weight. And honestly, that's the easiest thing to do. Fat loss and muscle gain, that's where you kind of have to understand patience, trust the process, and then be realistic with what you're seeing on the scale and with what you're seeing in the mirror. All right, guys, so with that being said, this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know for most people, you know, they already know all of this, but this is meant for beginners and those who kind of want to learn and take that next step into getting into this lifestyle. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any recommendations or ideas that you want to see in a video, let me know down below. And before I let you guys go, just remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm really trying to get my engagement up, so please remember to subscribe and leave a comment. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.